Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video. Something a little bit different. A bit different for this video today. I've been focusing on the Big Bash. That will be. I'll still continue that, but I've just thought today to do something a little bit different. I'm going to continue on this time with my review series on the of each team AFL teams 2022 season. I want to get this done before the year's out. So today I'm going to do of course the Brisbane Lions. And then the other four teams I'm gonna hopefully get out hopefully before the new year. So yeah, and so that means that the Big Bash match reviews, they're all gonna be there'll be like 2 or 3 matches that'll be condensed because I want to do, I don't just want to do focus only on the Big Bash. So I just wanted to get other videos out before the year's out, and I'm also planning on going to Geelong to see family members for a week. So as I've said in previous videos, so it's a pretty short period of time, really. I know it's probably my fault that I've just keep being distracted and just holding it back, but yeah. So I just want to get this, get these AFL 2022 season reviews done by the new year. So that means I don't have to worry about it so much. So the Brisbane Lions are the next team. Let's get into this very quickly. So last season, as we all know, Brisbane in 2021, Brisbane just snuck into the top 4 in the last round of the season, and unfortunately lost to Melbourne. Sorry, in the first final, and then heartbreakingly lost to the Western Bulldogs in the semi. So they lost to both grand finalists that year. This year, it looked like at about round 10 or 11, it looked like they would be top 4 contenders again. But they were flying high. Obviously, they only had the one loss to their name in like 10 or 11 rounds or something like that, and then they dropped off completely afterwards, and of course finishing in 6th position on the ladder with 15 wins to their name, which was level, by the way, to their 2021 record with 15 wins and 7 losses. Unfortunately, they ended up 6 positions worse on the home and away ladder than they were in 2021. But it was all resurrected in the end when they beat Richmond against the odds in the let's just say that in the elimination final. Everyone was talking about Richmond winning it, but Brisbane, with about a minute to go, stole that win in the end, and then let's just say they pretty much stole the win in the semi-final against Melbourne as well. Melbourne were coming at them fast, but unfortunately it was just too late for them, for Melbourne, and basically they booked their way into the prelim, second time in 3 years. Unfortunately, they didn't get it done in the prelim. Absolutely mauled by Geelong, undoubtedly. So that was the pretty much the summary of their season. Really, they like nobody expected them to probably make the prelim, but they did, and then of course, not going to talk about in this review some of the things I did in the off season. I'll do a preview on that next involving those next season. But I think for me, it was pretty much really, it was It was a great performance in the finals by Brisbane, but really not great enough for them to get that, to make that last step, which I believe next year will be. I think it's their best chance with the way that they've done, the way that they've recruited players in the off season and drafted players in the off season. So pretty much that, yeah. The highlight of the season was obviously the two finals wins against Melbourne, against Richmond and Melbourne. It was much more. I used the term against the odds. It was probably a bit harsh, really, than that, because especially in the first final, because the first final was at the Gabba. But everyone was talking about Richmond possibly going deep in finals, but unfortunately that didn't happen. It was more against the odds for Melbourne. I mean, everyone was expecting them to bounce back after their loss against Sydney the previous week in week 1, but that didn't happen. It did, and it looked like it looked like it was going to happen at half time, but unfortunately it didn't end up happening, and Brisbane got over the top of them in the end. And then the next final, which will now get to the low light of their season, undoubtedly was that prelim final. Finals caning at the hands of Geelong, eventual premiers Geelong. I think for me it was just they versed a side in a prelim final that was the inferior side all year, and they just couldn't do anything about it. Really. They've been in sudden death mode for the best part of the previous fortnight before the prelim, and it probably must have worn them down. And to make matters worse, they're versing the best side in the league. It doesn't make for great viewing, and it turned out it didn't. Losing by 12 goals in the end wasn't the best thing, but yeah. So marking them out of 10. Mark them out of 10. If they didn't make the prelim, I probably would have marked them as 6.5 out of 10, or 6 or 6.5 out of 10, because with the side they had and the way they performed in 2021, I thought and the way they performed early in 2022, I thought definitely they're a lock for top 4. But in the way they dropped off slightly towards the end of the home and away season, maybe the thing, maybe I'll go down to 6 out of 10. But since they made the if I thought if they lose in the first final, they win the first final and lose in the semi-final, then I'll probably mark them at a 6.5 out of 10. But since they made the prelim final, I marked them at a 7 out of 10. Probably a bit high, because everyone thought they were going to be top 4 contenders, but they didn't really, even though they made the prelim. But for me, as I said earlier on, next year's their best chance. It just has to be with the players that they brought in and the players that they drafted, which I'll get to in a bit. I'll get to that topic in a bit. Then there's no excuses for Brisbane in 2023. There's no excuses. They just have to go deep. Have to finish highly on the home and away ladder, go deep in the finals, possibly make a grand final, and be close to winning a premiership. That has been the main goal for Brisbane ever since the start of 2019, when they went on that almighty run against the odds of making top 4, almost winning the minor premiership, but unfortunately got knocked out early got knocked down straight sets that year. Ever since then, they've been on this road on this massive road to a premiership, and it hasn't happened yet. And this is their best chance. I said, but to be fair, I did say about Geelong, it's their last chance. 2022 is their last chance of winning a premiership, and yet they did it. I'm saying this now, this is their best shot, and you never know, they probably might prove me right, and basically they do win a premiership. But there's a small chance they don't. So I think they need to improve. On that front. I think that the ones that they've brought into the club, I think, will help them instead for 2023. We'll move on to the players. First off, Lachie Neale. I mean, what can you say about Lachie Neale? I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, his statistics speak for themselves. I mean, just get it as a backdrop. I mean, averaging 30 touches a game, 16 intercept possessions a game, 13 under 14 kicks per game, clearance 7.6 clearances a game, 367.5 meters gained, and 6.5 score involvements, which obviously is a great year. Elite almost across the board. Of course, finished highly in the Brownlow again. Not as highly as we all thought, but he was still went high in the Brownlow. So yeah, it was a good season really for Lachie Neale. Next player, Cam Rayner. Obviously, as we all know, he heading into 2022, he came off of that ACL injury pre-season that kept him out for all of 2021. It was unfortunate, really, because he was really starting to start to produce his best before that injury, and then that injury came along, and unfortunately it just didn't happen for him in the end. And then basically he's come back, and he's just gone bang. I mean, out of the 24 games, he's kicked 24 goals. Averaged a goal a game. In comparison to his first 3 years in the AFL system from 2018 to 2020, he was averaging just under a goal a game. So yeah, and he's a very good. I just wonder what Chris Fagan's gonna do with him. I don't know if they're going to keep him as a a high half forward, or occasional small forward maybe, or could they just put 50-50, put him in the forward line, and then occasionally put him in the midfield maybe. I don't know. Originally that was what I thought they were going to do when they first drafted him back in 2017. Heading into the 2018 season, that was my original thought, was he was going to spend most of his time in the forward line, but occasionally being in the midfield. It hasn't really happened. It did happen a bit in 2022, but I'm expecting. I wonder what Chris Fagan's going to do with him in way of his midfield time. If he's gonna give him more midfield minutes, I don't know, or is he just gonna stay at home and just be forward all the time? I don't know, but I still don't know what his plans are at that stage. And then Hugh McCluggage, the last player I'm going to mention, he's one of those players that just constantly improves. like for example, in 2019, he benefited most out of that massive Brisbane Lions improvement from 2018 to 2019. Massively benefited from it, and then he's just kept on progressing and at some stage it'll show. In terms of, for example, a Brownlow, for example, it'll show in terms of that. For Hugh, I mean, the stats doesn't really tell the whole story about how much McCluggage has improved over his entire career, because obviously he was drafted in the same class with McGrath, Taranto, I think Curnow, I believe. Yeah, Curnow, I believe, as well. All of these guys, something like that. And I think he's really has improved, and I don't think he hasn't. And I think he's good in most areas. The only thing that has let him down in the end has been his goal scoring, but he has generally improved in that. But in terms of, it's set shots, I know he's a midfielder, so he's not going to practice set shots, for God's sake. And he's not a forward, but he misses most other shots when it's under pressure, and that's something he can definitely improve on. His goal kicking was better in 2022, but I think if his goal scoring and ability to hit the scoreboard goes up another level in 2023, and then starts getting more of the ball. I know there's a guy I mentioned previously by the name of Lachie Neale, who's averaging, as I said, 30 touches a game. So it's going to be pretty hard, but if he gets it to above maybe at 25, maybe at 26, possibly 26 and a half, maybe just a tick into the 27 range, and improving in areas where he's average, then I think he can definitely have a better year than he had when his career best year in 2019. Definitely, no doubt about it. For Hugh McCluggage, last player, last one, which is under pressure. Who's under pressure? And I previously said this earlier in the video that I don't mention trades and people that have been drafted during these, but I'm gonna break rules just once for this one. And I know he's young, and I completely understand that AFL form and under 18 and junior under 18 form are two very, very, very different things. But for some people, but most under pressure, it has to be Will Ashcroft. It has to be. He had the perfect under 18s year. He led his side. He captained. I think he captained Vic Metro. I think he captained his NAB League side to the premiership. He averaged over 30 touches a game. He even at one game had 51 possessions. 51 possessions for someone who's an 18-year-old. What can I say? And I think we all know what we. I think for me, I think it's these father sons is going to be better and better. It proved last year with Dacos. He was just unbelievable. Of course, not surprisingly, he won the Rising Star in the end. But I think Dacos has really started the thing of of potentially father sons being having starting their careers off sensationally, and I think Will Ashcroft will do it again. I don't know if he I don't know if he will get midfield minutes straight away. I don't know about that. If they're gonna slot him, they're gonna do what Collingwood did with Nick Dacos, and that's have and that's him being off the half back line, and then gradually just progress him into the midfield during the year, and then basically his second year bang goes into midfield. I don't know, but it's going to be hard to break into it with Neil McCluggage or and the likes. I mean, it's going to be a tough midfield to break through. So I won't be surprised if Fagan decides to slot him in maybe on the half back line, or even on the back line, maybe just slot him there, just to not have him being roughed up by the bigger bodies in the midfield and that sort of stuff. But in terms of his potential, he has all to live up to, basically, of course, obviously with 2022 having his best year and that. So I would assume that there's no doubt that no doubt Ashcroft will is a future star. There's no doubt about it. I think for me it's very hard to back up your under 18s form into AFL. I mean, it takes a couple of years really to start doing that. But I think that no doubt about it. I think Ashcroft, he's probably your early contender. Early contender to win. Everyone's favourite, everyone's pick to win the Rising Star next year. No doubt about it. So I think I think Will Ashcroft, I believe, is going to be most on the pressure for Brisbane leading into next year to back up his form from under 18s. So that's pretty much it for this review, and that's pretty much it for this video. So like this video, share this to anybody who's anybody who is actually a Brisbane Lions fan. Comment down below. Do you think down below? Do you think Will Ashcroft's going to win the NAB Rising Star this year? Or do you think someone else is going to win the NAB Rising Star? Do you think it'll be someone else? I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments down below. And one last thing, somewhere down there, just the usual, click on the big red button which is labelled subscribe. But until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later, and wherever you may be, may the sun or the moon shine on you.